Good morning, good afternoon, or good night, and welcome to Command Power, the show in which we discuss all things Magic the Gathering with a focus on Commander. And today we have another episode in our Spoiler Spotlight series in which I talk about, well, spoilers and tell you what my thoughts are on them. But before that, just a quick reminder to click subscribe if you enjoy my videos. We're well on our way to 1 million subscribers and your support means everything to me. And today we're going to be talking about Grim Reaper's Sprint. For 4 colorless and 1 red, it's an enchantment aura with Morbid. This spell costs 3 less to cast if a creature died this turn. Enchant creature. When Grim Reaper's Sprint enters the battlefield, untap each creature you control. If it's your main phase, there is an additional combat phase after this phase. And enchanted creature gets +2/+2 and has haste. So this is so solid. When I saw this, I was like, wow, this is incredibly powerful. Initially, it doesn't look like that much because it's a 5 mana aura, and auras traditionally don't have the best track record in Commander because they're so bad to get 2 for 1 with. However, this has so much upside and it's so easy to cast it for 2 mana that it just becomes very powerful simply as an extra combat spell. Now, all the usual caveats apply. It is an aura, there is always the risk and downside of getting absolutely blown out with this, but even with all that potential downside, I think the upside more than makes up for it. So obviously 5 mana for an extra combat ability, particularly one that's tacked onto an aura that requires a target, is not great. You're never going to want to be paying this a full price, although you sometimes will if you don't have anything else going on or you have a chance to win the game straight up by using it, but most of the time you're going to be playing it for 2 mana and you're going to feel very good about that. It also has a very interesting kind of pattern of gameplay because obviously you're going to want to play this kind of extra combat effects when you have an advantage on board and you're able to push for some damage. Those are precisely the kind of situations where opponents are very likely to be chump blocking or blocking with small creatures to stop you from getting damage through. And this card punishes them massively for doing so because once they do, you just get to save so much mana on this. And if your deck has any creatures with haste in it, it gets even better because you can then use the extra mana you save to play out those haste creatures and swing in for more damage. So that's the easiest way to trigger this, just by attacking with your creatures and having them block, which happens very naturally in a game of Magic. However, it becomes even better when you throw it into decks that either have ways to sacrifice creatures or are basically built around sacrifice in the first place. So for example, in a Garner deck like the one I have on my channel, this becomes incredible because you are an aggressive deck that's looking to attack a lot, but then you also have a bunch of ways to sacrifice creatures for value at instant speed, and all you need is to have 1 sack outlet out for this to become a 2 mana extra combat step, which is incredible with all of the aggressive creatures that deck runs. Another example of a deck that really loves this is something like Aomer, where you're going to get extra combat steps whenever legendary creatures die whilst attacking. This fits perfectly within the theme, seeing as you're going to get the extra combat step when you sacrifice something to trigger Aomer, and then that incidentally also enables this to cost 3 less, which means you get to take an extra combat step after the previous one and swing in for even more damage. But there's a part about the card that we haven't even mentioned yet, and that is that it gives haste, and that's where I think that this actually becomes even better than we've talked about so far, because of course with the 3 mana that you're saving, you can drop a creature that's fairly cheap and then put this on that creature immediately, thus getting an extra attacker for that extra combat step that also gets +2/+2 thrown on as an additional benefit. So with all that considered, this can sneak in an absolute ton of damage out of nowhere. It seems like a really powerful effect, and I'm definitely going to be looking to put it into my aggressive red decks. So there you have it. Those have been my thoughts on this new spoiler. What do you think about this card? Please let me know in the comment section below. I read all comments and respond to all of them too. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to click like or subscribe. It really helps the channel. And until next time, take care.